Hi everyone, Letty here. Today we're going to be busting out those 4.5 by 6.5 paper pads from Hobby Lobby, and we are going to make some cards. And if you've watched my videos, you know I don't like to have any waste left over. We will not have any scraps on these cards. I won't be using up the whole paper pad, but I will use several sheets. So again, these are the 4.5 by 6.5 paper pads from Hobby Lobby. These go on clearance pretty regularly when they have their clearance sales. I think the price has gone up though. These used to be $8.99 and now I think they're $9.99. But again, it's a 4.5 by 6.5 paper pad, and you really kind of have to look at the pad because some of the pads have paperweight paper and they have more sheets, and then some of them are more like cardstock and they have fewer sheets. So this is just a quick flip through of a couple of them that I have in my stash and that I used. And then I also had some stickers also on clearance from Hobby Lobby, and then I stamped some sentiments, and I also have some colored cardstock. I end up only using the two brighter colors, but you'll see that later. And I also had some card bases. So I went ahead and I did go ahead and pre-make some cards that I'm going to use as a layout to show you kind of just a basic tutorial on how to make some cards and not have any scraps with this 4.5 by 6.5 paper. So the first set that we're going to do involves just cutting the paper down either with 2 cuts or with 3 cuts and not having any extra cardstock. So they're just 2 slightly varying designs. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and just pick out all of the paper that I want to use today. And you'll see that I don't actually use all of it. I end up only using 8 sheets, but I get 10 cards out of those 8 sheets. And you could actually do better than that. You could do more. If you stuck to just certain designs, you could actually yield more. And again, no scraps from those 8 sheets. So the first thing is going to be when I have 2 cuts to the sheet of paper. Now I'm going to be cutting both of these papers the same. I am using 2 of the sheets. So because I'm cutting them the same, I'm going to stack them and then cut. On the 6.5 inch side, I'm going to cut at 5 1/4. And then on the 4.5 inch side, I'm going to cut at 4. This will give us 3 scraps from the one card. And then I'm basically going to mix and match the patterns to go ahead and make 2 separate cards. So I first put down my card mat, and then I figure out the orientation as well, because I think the floral pattern is a bit more directional than the stripes. And so you'll see that I'm going to do 1 horizontal card and 1 vertical card. And then you just layer on the scraps from the opposite color, and then just add a stamped sentiment. And you can see where you pretty much can put that stamped sentiment just about anywhere. And I kind of show you that on the card itself. They're pretty versatile. So here are the 2 designs that we came up with again, just using 2 sheets of paper. So first round is finished. Next round is going to involve 2 different types of cuts. One paper is going to have 2 cuts, one paper is going to have 3 cuts. So I'm going to pull out again 2 sheets of paper from the 4.5 by 6.5 paper pad, and I try to find 2 that coordinate. It's very important that you cut these 2 papers separately because they're going to have different cuts. The first paper is going to have 2 cuts. On the 6.5 inch side, cut at 5 1/4, and then on the 4.5 inch side, cut at 4. Now the second paper is actually going to end up having 3 cuts. So on the 4.5 inch side, cut at 4. And then flip it, and on the 6.5 inch side, you're going to cut at 5 1/4, and then you're going to take that little bitty scrap and cut it down to 4 inches. So your second paper is going to have 3 cuts and 4 pieces of paper. Your first paper is going to have 2 cuts, which is 3 pieces of paper. And then you just basically mix and match the patterns, just like I'm showing you here. And again, you can change this to any which way you want. I'm basically just layering on the scraps. And just like that, and we'll go ahead and add the sentiments. Once we figure out the layouts, then we're going to go ahead and glue them down to the card bases. And just like that, those 2 cards would be done. And again, you have several options for the sentiments. I show that again. So round 2 are finished. So your first 2 sets of cards, again, no additional paper, are done. This next set is what you would do if you have like a directional piece of paper, just like those butterflies. They're very directional. You wouldn't want to have them upside down or cut them down to really thin scraps. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the directional paper and I'm basically cutting it in half on both sides. Then I'm going to find 2 coordinating sheets to go with that one directional paper. So this set of cards is going to involve 3 sheets of paper. And I'm basically going to cut those down into half. And you can cut those together because they're the same cuts. So we'll have 4 of the bigger pieces and 4 of the smaller ones, which is going to give us 4 total sets. So these are the 4 different layouts that I had put together. You can obviously do them any which way you want. I am going to be using some cardstock to go as a background mat on these. So I'm picking 2 that I think go well, which are the 2 brighter colors. And I'm going to pull both of those out and go ahead and cut my mats. So I'm doing a large mat on these, which is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, or 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 tall. And I'm cutting 2 from every sheet of paper. Then I'm just going to go ahead and plan out my layout. So you see that I mix and match my papers and cardstocks, and then kind of figure out which layout I'm going to be doing. So I'm doing the first one first, and I'm just matching it exactly the way that I did the first set of cards. And don't be afraid to make multiple cards with the same layout. Just remember that you most likely are not going to give multiple of the same type of card to the same person. So the same person's not going to even see that you made those same 8 cards. You're going to be giving them to 8 different people, right? Or selling them or donating them, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So it's very easy just to go ahead and make assembly line cards, make the same type. This combination of cards yields you 4 different designs, but you can absolutely make as many as you want. And again, don't feel bad that they all look the same, because they're going to be going to different people. And the person who receives it is not going to know that they, you know, are the sister to 8 different cards or 20 different of the same card or whatever. And so those are the 4 different layouts that I did. So round 3 is finished. Round 4. Now this one's going to actually have cardstock layers. You see where I'm using 2 separate layering mats for the background. So I'm going to just pull out 1 sheet for these 2 cards, and I'm going to cut it in half vertically. So on the 6 1/2 inch side, cut it down to 3 1/4, just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull out the same 2 bright colors that I had from before, just to go ahead and finish up using this. I'm trying to figure out which mat that I like in which area, so the outer or the inner mat. Once I decide that, I go ahead and cut them down. The outer mat is the larger one. It's 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm cutting 2 of those down, and I have a little small scrap. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the smaller mat, which is the inside mat, which is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now I go ahead and just assemble my mats, and then I go ahead and glue it down. Now what you'll notice though is that even though these have the same pieces, I have the alignments different. The first card is centered, so all of the mats and the paper is right in the middle of the card. And then on the second card, I actually have everything kind of aligned to the left. So just like that. And that was actually my favorite card, I think, of the whole bunch because of the colors. So you see how I'm aligning it all the way to the left. And again, you can do this any which way you want. I just wanted to try to change it up just a tad bit. And again, you can put the sentiment anywhere. And so that's the second card. So you see it's just slightly different than the first one. So these were all A2 size cards. I wanted to show you what the difference what it would be the difference if you actually did an A1 size card, which is 3 1/2 by 4 7/8. Now, for the A1 size, we're going to make the easiest card and card mat ever. You just take your paper, cut it in half, which is at 3 1/4, and there you go. You've got your card mat. It does not get any simpler than that. Now, you pop on a sentiment anywhere on the card, and now you have the easiest card ever. It does not get any easier than this. So I really like using A1 size cards, and look, you can actually see the difference. It's not really that big of a size difference from an A1 to an A2 size card. So, and then of course you can always go a little further and embellish further. I'm using stickers in this. I had, again, those clearance stickers. So I wanted to go ahead and use them up just to try to get them out of my stash. They had been sitting there for a bit. And I'm just placing a sticker on each one. You could use jemmies and any other type of embellishment to embellish these, but I'm just going ahead and using stickers. And I will be having close-ups of these cards on my Instagram. So this is just a great way of using up the stash that you have by adding an extra sticker that coordinates. And that's one of the beauties of Hobby Lobby is they usually will have stickers that match the paper and everything coordinates. So you can see I used up almost 2 whole sets of stickers. So these are the finished cards. Again, I used 8 papers from the 4.5 by 6.5 Hobby Lobby paper pad, and I got 10 cards. And remember to look for those clearance when those clearance pads go on sale at Hobby Lobby. Thanks for visiting, everyone. Please subscribe, like this video, and follow me on Instagram. Thanks. Bye-bye, and happy crafting.